Hello. Today we'll be discussing a RESTful API service that we developed that enables people to manage lists of investments and stocks which they wish to either invest in or track the prices of. So to start with, the API was developed mainly in Python and then deployed on an AWS virtual machine. This then connects to a MySQL database that is deployed on Amazon RDS. As part of this API service, we've created a default web page, which includes all of the authors, as well as our group number 11. Additionally, there are details on all of the various different APIs that we've developed, and I'll just go through them one by one to start with. So to start with, there's a get all stocks API request, which essentially gets all the stocks within your list and displays it to you. Secondly, you can get a specific stock, which is where you can use where you just get the information on an individual company or stock. Thirdly, you can search for the stock symbol of a company. This API service reaches out to AlphaVantage and will retrieve companies that have a similar stock symbol or similar stock name to what you input. You can also get stock information, which varies from price data to fundamental information. Again, this reaches out to an external API service called AlphaVantage. Then the latter three API services all relate to updating your list of investments. So the first one allows you to add a new stock to the list. The second one allows you to update an existing stock in the list. And the third and final one allows you to delete a stock within the list. So we'll go through all these APIs one by one. So for the majority of this, I'll be working in Postman. But to start with, I will jump onto MySQL Workbench just to show you the table that's deployed on Amazon RDS. So here we can see it's a very simple table containing a stock's ID, its name, and then its stock symbol. Okay. Then if I jump onto Postman, and you can see we've created a cloud computing collection, which can also be found on the GitHub. So to start with, we're going to do the get all stocks request, which you can see here. I'm going to send this request. And then it's brought back all the information that you just saw in the MySQL table. So we've got one stock which relates to Apple and its stock symbol, and a second stock which relates to Amazon and its stock symbol. And then if I want to get a specific record, so I want to look at that Apple record, I'm going to copy its symbol, and I'm going to go to the get specific stock, and you can see here by the path that it's stock, then followed by the symbol. So I will go to the get specific stock. I'm going to add the symbol at the very end, form a get request. You can see that I've got a 200 response, and I've been provided with just the record for Apple now. So with this request, there's also exception handling. So if I put in the name of a symbol that doesn't exist in the database, so we'll just put in A and run it, you'll get a 404 error and a little error message. Okay. So for the purpose of the demo today, I want to add a new stock to my list, and I'm particularly interested in IBM. So I'm going to go for the search for stock symbol request, and then it's going to be stock search and then the symbol, stock name. So I'll pop in IBM. So go to the search for stock symbol. I'm going to pop in IBM, and I'll click search. And then you can see that this is the API that reaches out to AlphaVantage, and it basically performs a search based on the company name, and it will look for relevant matches in terms of symbol, company name, and it will provide a list of matching results. So you can see IBM was at the top, and there are other companies that are similar below. So I want to copy the information from here. I want to add it to my existing list. So to do that, I'm going to use the Add New Stock API. If I flick back onto Postman, you can see this is the add stocks, and the body is prepared. So I'm going to do stock name. So for the stock name, I'm just going to add International Business Machines. And for the stock symbol, we simply copy IBM. And then send the request. You'll see you get a 201 response, which indicates that the company has been created. There's also exception handling with the post request. So if I just remove the whole of the stock name, or field and value, and then update this for a new record, and click send, it'll provide a 400 bad request error and provide you a body which has error, and it says that the stock needs to have a stock name. So it indicates which JSON field you are missing from your query. That's all of that. Okay. So if I now go back to get all stocks, so the very first query, we should be able to see a record for International Business Machine. So I'll go to get all stocks, and I'm just going to run this query again. And you can see that International Business Machine has been added. So now I think International Business Machine is a bit of a mouthful to say. So I want to update this stock name to just IBM, as it's classically known. So in order to do this, I'm then going to go to the update stock API request, which is a put request. So if I go to the update stock one, then you just simply add in IBM at the end in the body. Stock name, I'm just going to add IBM. So this is going to update the stock name from International Business Machine, as we see here, just to IBM. So when I run send, you can see that it confirms that one row has been affected in the database and it was successful, as in the SQL script was successful. Additionally, there's error handling here as well. So if I delete stock name and try to run this, it provides you a 400 bad request error. And if I was to update this to a symbol that doesn't exist within the database, so I will go for A again, then it provides a 404 error, indicating that the stock does not exist within the database. So after all of that, IBM or International Business Machine should be updated to IBM. So I'll go back to the get all stocks. You should see this record here being updated to IBM. So we'll run this again. And you can see that the stock name has been updated to IBM. So now that we've added it to the list, I want to call out to an external API to source an overview of IBM. So in order to do this, if I go back to the web page, we go to the get stock information, and I just want to get an overview. So it's the stock fundamental information, and you can see overview here. Go to get stock information, and then I'm going to type in the symbol here. And I'm going to change time series to overview. Click send. So here I can see some high-level information about IBM, including its address, analyst target price, etc. Then if I want more detailed information about its prices, I'm going to go to a time series data and monthly and input that instead of overview. And what this is going to bring me back is the monthly stock prices of IBM. So here we can see that it's confirming that it's monthly prices. And then if we go down, you can see that it starts at the end of 1999, and it gives you stock information such as the open, high, low, and close stock price. It does this for all of the months to date. So after reviewing this information, I've now decided that IBM is not a suitable investment, so I want to delete it from my list. So in order to do that, I'm going to go and I'm going to perform the delete stock API request. Go here. And all this requires is adding IBM at the end. So I'll send this request. Again, it will give me back the number of rows affected and if it was successful. And again, if I enter a value that doesn't exist within the database, it will return me back an error response of 404. So now if I go to the Get All Stocks page, I should be able to see that IBM has now been removed from the list. And you can see that IBM no longer appears in the list. Okay. So for the second part of the demo, I will be going on to the terminal linked to the virtual machine. So here, I'm just going to run a command that will bring back all the Kubernetes services that are currently running. So as you can see here, we've got a load balancer deployed. And if you look at this port number here, which is 30339, this is the port number that we've been hitting in all of our API requests. So I'll flick back onto the URL and you can see it's the same port number here, 30339. And if I go back onto Postman, even just with this example one, you can see that this is the same port number, so 30339, which means that all of our requests have been going through the load balancer. And then after this load balancer, we've got two Kubernetes pods running the same Docker image, which is basically splitting the traffic between two Docker or two pods. You can see that both of the pods are up and running, and both are up to date as well. And to test the performance of the scaling, we've created a very simple test function that sends a number of API requests to the load balancer asynchronously, which essentially means that we don't wait for a response from the API request before sending the subsequent one, which means that we hit the load balancer all in parallel. So I'm just going to hit the load balancer with 1,000 requests using this simple Python script. You can see the outputs below, where it will give you the time of the completion of each of the outputs. If I just keep scrolling down whilst it completes, it shouldn't take too long. And you can see that we've processed 1,000 API requests within 25 seconds, which isn't too bad. Finally, there are two other key sources of information for the project. So all of the Docker images used for the Kubernetes pods can be found at on the Docker Hub. A link is available in the GitHub README file, and you can see all of the various different versions. And finally, if you go onto the GitHub repository, you can see a README file that gives you a brief explanation of all of the services, of all of the files within the Git repo, all of the authors, and if you want to use the code and find any issues, that you're free to raise an issue on GitHub.